Welcome, Excellencies, diplomats, colleagues, and dear friends. I welcome you all to the World Leadership Video Conference. Let me introduce about WLC, Women Leading Change, which focuses on social impact on humanity by empowering women as educators for future and nation. Using latest technology as satellite, we are proudly bringing to you the WLC, World Leadership Video Conference, for over 100 people. Every April, Women Leader International Network would have Women Global Forum. In this amazing 2020 COVID moments, we are burned to the torch of women deliberation, celebrating world heroes of empowerment, such as you all are, and broadcast World Leadership Conference online with an amazing lineup of speakers who will share their experience and expertise. World Leadership Video Conference is to create the world's biggest online conference seminar to build high conscious and resilience amongst world leaders to lead the changes in times of corona pandemic, social impact, and share knowledge of wisdom. Thank you everyone for joining. I'm Mohish Srivastava, Director for International Cooperation at Indian Economic Trade Organization, and I would be moderating this session for you all. I request all to kindly keep your mics on mute mode throughout the session. Speakers can turn on their mic when speaking, and for participants after the speaker session is over, if you have any question or would like to add something very briefly, you may please request and click on the hand raise icon, and on call you will be unmuted. Let us start with the session. So today's session is about wellness and mental health post-COVID. The coronavirus pandemic has thrown the world into disarray, from economic recession to protectionist policies and conflicting multilateralism. Those who are affected with COVID-19 loses about 14-20 days, and in extreme case, even life. Those who are still at home or working are worried about their future, which is causing stress and substance abuse, even anxiety. I welcome our today's host, the President of Indian Economic Trade Organization, Dr. Asif Iqbal, to please give his opening remarks.
Yes, thank you very much, Mohit. And once again, welcome to all of our regular viewers now as we start off the Wellness and Mental Health Conference. Special thanks to all our participants from outside India who have allocated their times to match our Indian audience of 2:30 p.m. Thank you, Alisa from Israel, for being here. And we look for your valuable inputs today. And Ayla and her team from Indonesia. And we are going to be joined with a few more guests from Kuwait and the Middle East in a while. So let's start from here. And I would start off by introducing Mrs. Beena Mirchandani from Ritamra Wellness. Madam, very welcome to the show. And I have attended myself, personally your sessions. And I thought it was very important for me to invite you here to add value to talk to our audience today. So I would be very happy if you would start. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Asif, thank you so much. Let us first, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Ritamra, the organization, and then we can get to talking about COVID as well. So let me I have a short presentation which I'd like to share with you. Just trying to share screen. Oh, there's no, have you disabled that, Mohit?
The chat.
Screen share seems to be disabled.
Yes, just a moment. I request the host to please turn on the share screening mode for the speakers. We have a brief presentation. Is it open now?
Yes, I think so.
Right.
Are you able to see it?
Yes, we can see, yeah.
You can? Okay, let me just put it on full view. Okay. Yeah, are you able to see it now, everybody?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so let me first introduce what Ritambara is. Ritambara is an organization that we've developed on the basis of wellness, but it has a strong thread of what we are famous for in India, which is our knowledge and our scriptures and the ancient wisdom that we have available for wellness in India. So this is what we started with. Ritambara actually means truth and right bearing, and it's the ordered course in the manifested universe. It connotes cosmic order, which includes all natural, moral, and spiritual laws in their totality. So it's a dynamic equilibrium that every time something goes out of, if there is an imbalance, it restores itself. And it takes us to the next level. That is the more important thing. So at Ritambara, what we concentrate on is we are looking at the ancient wisdom and traditional therapeutic methods from India to get the balance of body, mind, and Atma. And we want to bring this through yoga, meditation, spiritual learning, Ayurveda, Sattvic diet, and cultural exposure for really true well-being. So what we have available is yoga, Ayurveda, spiritual discourses, and cultural experiences. And I'm going to explain a little bit about why it's important to have even cultural experiences included. We all know that yoga is meant for the union between mind and body, and for the individual consciousness, the union of the individual consciousness with the higher consciousness. So that's very important for us in Ritambara. Ayurveda, we concentrate on absolutely natural, organic, and healthy foods. And we think there's a direct connect, and we know there's a direct connect between what you eat and what you think. So that's very important. Ayurveda is very important for us. We have spiritual discourses because unlike what everybody thinks, this is not based on religion per se, but there's so much philosophy in ancient Indian wisdom to actually uncover all that for a good way to live life better. And cultural experiences, we think, is very important because the cultural experiences actually come from the core of one's being. It's the creative core that you have inside of you. And it's important to connect with that every now and then. So we have retreats and wellness programs, and we do them all over. We can do them in any place that is required by the group that wants us to do it for them. We have different programs, starting from a basic one to something that's very intense, where we'll discuss the spiritual texts in much greater detail. And our locations, like I said, are all over the world. And we select accommodation so that, there is that feel for well-being. The minute you're there, you feel the well-being already. Culinary, we spoke about. The cultural connect, we spoke about. And our founders, promoters, and faculty, we are basically a collective group that have at their core the philosophy that well-being starts at the physical and culminates in the transcendental. So our promoters and collaborators, some of who are now are part of some of the participants here. So His Excellency Shri Praveen Goenka is sitting here. Mr. Rohan Naik, gentlemen, Mr. Vijay Saraf, Anup Sharma, Prem Nath, Suchit. They're all experts in various fields, and we've all come together to actually put Ritambara. He's also done his, this gentleman has done his Moksha model he's done it as his MBA thesis. So faculty and consultants, you're going to see and hear Ms. Shri Krishnapani Kesi Raju today. Asid Ghosh is also supposed to be speaking. I'm not sure he's there. I'm here, and I will be talking a little bit about the COVID and happiness shortly after I finish this. We have we have specialists in yoga, and many of them. We have doctors on call, we have nutritional consultants, we have dance consultants, and everybody that you can think of. So this is what Ritambara is all about, and we'll be happy to, if you can get in touch with us for any of your requirements. I'll stop share at this point, and if there's anything that you would like to, ask me, please feel free to ask me after the session. But let's get on with what I really wanted to speak about, which is happiness and COVID. So let's understand one thing, that, change is constant. That's the only thing that's constant. And that says so in our Bhagavad Gita, it says so that there is going to be change constantly. All right. So now let's ask a few questions to ourselves. So how do I keep myself happy through this change when all I want is stability and security? That's typically what everybody wants and needs. But the answer actually lies in our own heads. Look at this whole lockdown that we've gone through. Are you unhappy or are you happy with the situation? And if I'm happy, what do I think has actually made me happy through this whole pandemic? So if I've stayed happy, here are some possible reasons. I'm happy with myself, being by myself. This social isolation has made us actually sit back and spend some more time with ourselves. And that's important, because only if you love yourself can you actually spend time with yourself. There's the other thing that we're doing now, is because we don't actually have to commute to office and all of those other things that we would normally be doing. We are at home and we do have opportunity and time to do things that we really want to do, things that make you happy. These are all important learnings on how we can make ourselves happy. There's closer relationships now with family and friends, and not physically, but through phone, video calling, emailing. And I think these are things that actually, the important things in life, somehow we've put them to the side pre-COVID, and we have actually been going on with our lives like robots. I think this is time to actually think about what all has happened to us during this lockdown. And like I said, some of us may have lost some near and dear. So it's really what the learning for us here is that, it is so precious. Life is precious, firstly. And the second thing is that these relationships with these people is precious. So we must write it at any time. We should write it. Take their forgiveness, do whatever needs to be done, but let's have good, healthy relationships, because that calls for happiness. So now what I would like to, let's look at a few lessons that we could possibly get on happiness. What I think has happened to us is that we've all become a little less materialistic, and we are much more relationship oriented. This is very, very typically, in Western philosophy, they call it hedonic happiness versus eudaimonic happiness. Hedonic happiness is this thing that you get out of material things. It's very short-lived. You constantly want to sort of top it at all times. But eudaimonic, which is relationship building, experiences, that's much more long-lasting. So I think we are naturally going to shift a little bit towards the eudaimonic happiness after post-COVID. The other thing that we've been doing is that we've been focusing more on what matters to us. And we're doing things that we enjoy doing. And this, another friend, Western philosopher, psychologist, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, has talked about being in the flow. So, very often you do things when you don't even realize that you spend so much time on it. You're just so consumed by it. And it's so much something that you'd like to do. So I think these are things, important learnings that we are going to get post-COVID, that we need to do things that we enjoy doing, where our whole being is part of the activity that we are doing, We're just mentally, physically, and everything involved in what we're doing, which is really called being in the flow. The other thing we're learning, another psychologist has talked about the paradox of choice. Less is more. And I think with this pandemic, what's happened is, with the shortage of goods that are available to us, and generally not that much choice available to us, I think we're realizing that life can go on. We have survived and we will survive. And it's not important to have that aisle full of maybe orange juice where, there are 100 or 20, 200 varieties of orange juice there, and for you to make a choice. So spending time on making choices like this, and getting the unhappiness of thinking that you've made the wrong choice is something that I think we are going to learn a lot about from this experience, because we've suddenly realized that even simple things can satisfy us. And the biggest one, in my opinion, and that's been a personal thing for me as well, which is gratitude. I think we are all, post-COVID, we've realized, and post-COVID, we are going to realize, even at this point in time, we should be realizing that we are so grateful for our existence. We're grateful to be alive, and we are grateful that for whatever we have around us, for everything, we have, a smile, a hug, anything is actually so simple, but we are grateful for all of these things. Our bodily comforts, we have homes, we have everything. I think there's a lot that we need to be grateful about. And more importantly, the love, the compassion, and the belonging that we need, is all something that we have to realize is much more important. So I think what's going to happen to us is our whole value structure in terms of what's important and what's not so important is going to there'll be a major shift in that post-COVID. And I think people are going to actually look at what makes them happy. And they are going to. I've already, heard of people thinking that what am I doing this job for? It makes me so unhappy. So they're rethinking that situation. There's some people thinking that why am I spending my life with this person when I'm constantly unhappy in this union, So there's a lot of thought process that's going in. And I think maybe we might actually move to a post-COVID happier situation. Thank you so much.
You're on mute, Mohit. Mohit, you're on mute.
As very well said by Ms. Pina, having cultural experiences is important. Now, COVID-19 has somehow made us realize how close we all are. And this isn't about our home, state, or country, but it is indeed about one single world. With great pleasure, I request His Excellency Nura Swajya, Indonesian Ambassador in Singapore and founder of the Indonesian Investment Day, to address the gathering.
Okay. Hello. Good afternoon to you all. It's really a great pleasure for me to join this talk. And I really intrigued with the last speaker about COVID and happiness. So it's a paradox, but of course, at the end of the day, I think, after what you do, you can really feel the happiness when you reach the success or whatever you would like to attain. I'm going to talk about the different things here because I'm asked to share about what diplomacy do in these COVID situations. In fact, I have a presentation. I would like to put up the presentation here to you all. If the host can enable that, so I can share that presentation.
Okay. Can you share it now?
Yeah. Okay. So my topic here is because of my background. I'm a diplomat, and of course, when the crisis is happening at the beginning, we were wondering what should we do in addressing or in helping to combat to address these particular situations. Of course, immediately after the first reported case, like for instance in Singapore, we immediately see a lot of policy implemented by government when the COVID is spreading across the borders, the immediate policy put in place by most of the government is closing the borders, as well as also implementing like restrictions or lockdown in every countries, in most of the countries, if not all of the countries. So at that time, we were wondering what can we do in order to help, because we are not, scientists. We don't know exactly what it is. We know that the healthcare workers is really in the front line trying to save people. But not long after the crisis started, we realized that we have an important roles to play. So my presentation is basically divided into three main points I would like to make here. Of course, the emergency response when we have the pandemic spreading across the international borders. So we realized that we have many people living in, if not all of the countries around the world, but at least in many countries around the world that need to be repatriated back. I think people also aware when there was the first story breakout, when many countries are trying to evacuate their nationalities from Wuhan in Hubei province. So we did not even imagine how difficult it was at that time, because of course the city is in a total lockdown, but then the population live in hundreds of kilometers away, separating from one another. So we need to coordinate through diplomatic channels with the central authority, with the local authority, to make sure that the evacuation can take place, not only taking place, but also we will be able also to bring them home safely. So that was the first start that we did. But immediately after that, we realized take for example, Indonesian workers who are working in the cruise ship as a crew. We have around 24,000 people working in almost 200 cruise ships all over the world. And some of them are not also allowed to berth to the countries, and then they have to hanging around on the sea with no passengers, or with passengers with possible infection perhaps happening in a cruise ship. So this is becoming really a very gigantic work that we did, not only about the crew, but also the migrant workers we have in many countries. So we are talking basically about more than 80,000 or even close to 100,000 people that we need to repatriate in a very difficult situation when most of the countries where they live in a lockdown, with a restriction for people to move around, and also with no international flights are serving them to bring them back home, with a lot of difficulties that really confronted by our colleagues who are trying to make sure that the repatriation can be done very, very smoothly. Then from this repatriation process, which has already been taking place in the past 3 months, then we realize also, which I will come into the second part of my presentation, that we realize in the whole world, no countries in the world are well prepared to face this pandemic, because this is really unprecedented in terms of the proportion of the calamity. So then we heard a story about so many countries lacking their basic essential medical supplies. So that was the reason why then we recognize that international cooperation is really very key, and diplomat plays a very significant role here. So we knew that, I think it was started with the G20. The leaders are meeting virtually, meeting at the leaders level taking place, meeting at the ministerial level taking place. So what they did was really to ensure that there are international collaboration, there are international unity to address this situation, because humanity has the same objective, to save humanity. So humanity can only be selfish if we have a very good and very strong international unity and international collaboration. So we are very happy to learn that a lot of meeting taking place, which is unprecedented. We never have, video conference summit involving 20 leaders, or even sometimes more than that. But what resulted from this was really, amazing in terms of first addressing the issue of shortage in terms of the essential medical supplies, addressing the issue of research on the drugs or medication, research on the vaccine, making sure that no one is left behind. So through this diplomatic engagement, which is facilitated by many diplomats around the world from all of the countries, despite restrictions, despite lockdowns, we were able to see things are moving, in terms of the international cooperation in addressing these pandemic situations. So in the middle of this crisis, we also understand that it is not only, it will not be enough if we leave it only to the government to deal with the situations. So here we see a lot of international businesses, international companies, local companies as well, collaborating in order to address the issue of shortage of the medical supplies. One of the initiatives we proposed at that time was that, and then this has already been taking place, we have over 100 initiatives involving not only intra-government cooperation, but also cooperation involving private sectors. So one of the initiatives we did was that we know that in many countries, there are countries that have advantages in terms of technology. There are countries that have advantages in terms of the capacity, production capacity, and workforce. There are countries that also have the advantages of having the raw materials. So we are trying to connect the dots, and we are trying to connect the collaborations, and finally we were able to really make sure that all of those essential medical supplies are no longer an issue. But of course, it's still an issue in many countries, which is unfortunate, in many countries that need international help. The next, the next collaboration that we are also thinking is that developing the medication and also vaccine. We know that there are progress already in developing medication and vaccine, but there are still also, a need for facilitation. So then to make sure that no one is left behind, to make sure that this is accessible by all humanity. The last and final point I would like to make here is that, we are facing a significant challenge. Many countries are faced with a situation whether we will prioritize the health, the public health, or the economic recovery. So, but most of the countries are also doing it simultaneously. So this is really still a big challenge. But in addition to that, we are also facing a very unfortunate situations in terms of the global unity, in terms of global solidarity. We are lack of international leadership now. What we see is now even a divide the big leaders are exchanging rhetoric, exchanging, accusations, which is not going to be very helpful, not only in addressing the COVID-19, but also in leading the economic recovery. So some people are also predicting perhaps the international response is not going to be as strong as what we have in the past financial crisis in 2008. So I think through this media and discussion and talks, I think we can, each and every one of us should, play our role, contribute in how we will expedite to make the situation under control, and then to make a good transition to what we call as a new normal, and to also promote investment economy that we can also help in order to make sure that the recovery is going to be faster rather than slower. But unfortunately, as I mentioned, that the geopolitical situation is not yet helping. But then, of course, it should not prevent us as businesses, as citizens, as people, as community leaders, to voice our concern so that international community can be united, because there's no other option for us to be united and to collaborate in order to save humanity. And all humanity live in the same planet that we are sharing. So I think this is something that I would like to end my presentation. Of course, I'm looking forward for the conversation proceed after this one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency, for your remarks, for putting the global picture of governance during this COVID time. The coronavirus has created a lock for many businesses, and post-COVID, we have to get back to our work with a new track. Let us now hear from Mr. Toto Lusida, Head of Indonesia Real Estate Association. Mr. Toto.
Good afternoon, everyone, and also for Bapak Ngurah. Let me introduce myself. My name is Paulus Toto Lusida. I'm the President of Indonesia Real Estate Association and also Vice President for Developers from VWLC. Our former VWLC President is from India also, Mr. Farooq. And then I'm a pharmacist, but as an entrepreneur, I'd like to explain that REI, Real Estate Indonesia, the member is around 6,400 companies around Indonesia, and 80% build affordable housing, and then the rest of the members is built for sustainable housing and also for other property like mall, hotel, and industrial. For right now, Indonesia is still in going up for COVID-19. So we just focus in COVID-19 because yesterday, Surabaya is the second city for Indonesia, second biggest city after Jakarta. Get positive for COVID-19 is around 25% from who get the test for swab test, for PRC test. So maybe the highest in the world right now for PCR test. So our government still not get to decide for lockdown, and we all the people of Indonesia object to get the lockdown, because for lockdown, everybody can do work and do business. So for the industry will be stopped totally. Why? Because property is still related with 174 other industry. As you know that like the tile, like cement will be need long time to make a stable temperature to produce his product. So we not stop the totally for the industry and also for the trading and also for any economics because of that. And then for Indonesia real estate still going for affordable housing still work as usual, because we support by the subsidized by the government. And then for others affordable non-affordable housing, we do in a slowing down around 50% to slow down the selling and then the products. But we developers have no cheaper the price, or we never get a lower price, just relation for the term of payment only. So to invest the property in Indonesia is still get more feasible than other countries. Maybe for a little explanation is enough, and then maybe we can discuss after that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. No doubt that it is important to maintain me time and be time appropriately. Now I invite Mr. Krishnapani K.C. Raju, Program Director at Ratambara, to deliver his note. Mr. Krishnapani, your mic is on mute. Could you please unmute it?
No?
Yes, it's perfect. Please.
Is it fine now?
Yes, yes. Please.
So a very good afternoon to all the participants. As already informed to you, I am a member of the Ratambara group, and I would like to focus today on the mental health part of it as a consequence of the COVID-19, what exactly is happening. I wouldn't like to dwell too much on the problems as such, but I would just share a few thoughts on the way forward. How do we move ahead to be mentally healthy? As we know, our whole being is very much involved in this physical activity and the physical body as such. And we have several mechanisms. For instance, we have measuring systems, we have monitoring systems, and we have other manipulating systems to look at the physical health. But when it comes to mental health, in spite of so much of developments in the fields of psychology and psychiatry, still we are grappling with the problem of how do we deal with ourselves when confronting peculiar situations where we are confined to a particular place and we have become inactive in certain respects, and our whole lifestyle has been suddenly shaken up. So a context is created by this pandemic where a lot of uncertainty we can see in the whole of human life. See, we have to come to terms with what we are now calling as the impermanence of things, the constant change we observe, and the uncertainty that goes with it. I would like to normally call this as the ICU. We are in a situation, what we call as ICU, where there is impermanence, change, and uncertainty. We are confronted with this. While this has been always there, but there has been a certain kind of stability and development which we have seen for a long time, but all that has been shaken up now. So we are all in one way confronting the reality of the impermanence of things, the rapid change which is happening, and also the uncertainty which we face as far as the future is concerned. So the most important aspect from the mental health perspective is to get out of what is called as a recursive closed loop thinking process. Now we dwell in our own minds, but our minds are composed of a lot of experiences, knowledge which we have gathered, and the memory of those things. And mostly we find that our knowledge is conditioned in so many respects because the mind has what we call as a selective receptivity of things. And we would rather think of what we call as our memory also is short-lived. Short-lived in the sense we do not remember all the experiences and all the knowledge which we have gathered through our life. But we live in this kind of mental framework, and we have formed what is called as a repetitive closed loop. So the most important thing from the point of view of confronting the COVID-19 and the pandemic and how we move forward is to break this closed loop. How do you break this closed loop? We look at things afresh now. Let's not look at things from the past memory and past experiences alone. We need to look at things from a totally new perspective. A totally new perspective which is fresh. We are willing to receive experiences and look at things afresh. So this is one of the fundamental aspects as far as the mental health is concerned, because if we live in our own shell and if we live in our own memories and our own experiences, we create a depressing situation, and then we only gather a lot of negative energy for it. So one important factor from the point of view of learning to preserve our mental health is to break this closed recursive loop. The second aspect is that how do we relate to everything around us? How sensitive are we to the things which we see around us? We have been very callous with nature. We have been very casual in our approach to so many things which we see around us. But all of that has now become important. The trees, the plants, the environment. You see a lot of change happening there. Things have cleared. We are getting reports about things being cleaned up now. Our environment has become more clean, and our water bodies have become clean. The air has become clean. So you see, we have never been sensitive to these things earlier, and we have been only adding more and more of problems and the pollution and degradation of nature. So the second aspect I would like to dwell upon is this element of being sensitive to everything around us, both the inanimate and the animate things, because one of the major factors that humanity is confronting today is the tremendous amount of suffering at all levels. So this suffering is maybe fortunately for most of us, it's not so intense, and we are greatly insulated because we are otherwise okay. But look at humanity from a larger perspective. As His Excellency was mentioning, when you even think of shifting your nationals from one country to the home country, where they are stranded somewhere and they don't have facilities, they don't have communication. They don't have medical facilities, and they feel that they have been abandoned. And it becomes a humongous task for the governments, for the institutions to look at this suffering and tackle this. Therefore, at an individual level, we need to become much more sensitive to things. And the third important factor which I would like to dwell upon is, how do we relate ourselves to nature? Because in the process of getting into a state of mind which is healthy, the most important thing is to go inward. The best way to go inward into oneself and discover that vastness of life, we need to be very close to nature. So I think this is a good opportunity for all of us if we can have the facility of being close to nature and going for long walks and observing things around us, which will give us a perspective of the vastness of the world outside and the vastness of the world inside also. And this inward movement is one thing that is going to give us space to operate and think about humanity as a whole, instead of being concerned about me, myself, and my own concerns and my own problems. So you see, this I would say is a great opportunity for us to discover ourselves. So we need to relate, because we need to break from that loop, as I said, the closed recursive loop, and then become more sensitive and move inwards. I think these three aspects would give us the true kind of mental health that is required, so that we are equipoised and we are in a position to help ourselves and help everybody around us. Thank you so much.
As said by Mr. K.C. Raju, our situation could be termed as ICU. Thank you, sir, for your viewpoint. The corporate world has to change the way they used to do business and networking. We are now joined by Mr. Noel Masters, Director Corporate Relations at IETU.
Good afternoon to everyone. Having heard all of the speakers today talk about what has been happening with themselves, with others, and also what is the future that one is looking at post-COVID. For me, I will talk from a very personal experience, and I'm sure that a few will echo the same thing. It was a wonderful time. As far as I'm concerned, it was a great time. It gave me time to do introspection, to look at what next, why, and all of those questions. With the introspection, I could also do a little bit of the retrospection, and then going by what Mr. Krishnapani said, and what Beena also spoke about initially, it's how it is up in your head and how it is that your mind is performing is what will make you do what you have to do. Whether then you do it for yourself, whether then you do it for others, and then not looking at I see you as alphabets, but I see you. Now I see everyone. Things have changed, thought processes have changed. The hamster wheel stopped turning around and the rat race ceased to some extent. From whatever I've heard, and I've been talking to a different lot of people from different industries, different walks of life, be it the daily wage worker, be it the IT developer, be it the call center person, the teacher, whoever, all have started to look at things afresh, as in what hit us. Now that we got hit, what's going to happen to us? And when all of this ends, what are we supposed to do? And that's where the crucial thing comes in. Your mental health is what is going to keep you well. And as Bina echoed, as Mr. Krishnapani said, it was a time to think afresh and to reinforce some of the things that we missed out on. Time, me time. There was enough of me time this time for everyone, I'm sure. And the me time gave us a lot to reinforce some of our things that we had forgotten that existed and what we are supposed to have been doing. I would say that everybody has been now given a new slate, a blank slate, and a number of different colored chalks to work with. Philosophically, everybody will say, okay, I've got a new lease in life, and now what am I going to do with it? Start to write your story again, and start to write your story right. Everybody's been given this opportunity, and I think it's been a wonderful time. Post-COVID, if everybody's or somebody's going to say, oh, we are all going to get back to normal, I would like to talk to them. I'd like to know how that is going to be normal. The new normal, well, whatever the coinages that are going around in all different circles. But yes, it is now a time not to just look at what you're doing with yourself, but what you're also going to do with some others and what you're going to do for others. As I said, personal experience, to me, it was absolutely wonderful. It has given me a new and fresh look to look at creation, to look at people, to look at how to interact with them, and how to also make them grow now differently. And that's all I would say. That post-COVID, I think, is going to be a wonderful time if we all look at it in the right positive way that it should be looked at and with the right mindset. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Noel. To know more about the global perspective of wellness and what is happening all over the world, we will now hear from Mrs. Elisha Eshet Moses, Director at Asian Arab Chamber of Commerce.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just want to say first that it's very nice to see you all here from Israel, for little Israel, because we have Indonesia and India. You are also just big countries. You are only 9 million now. So I want to tell you, not from a personal perspective, but from the country perspective. We are now out of lockdown in Israel. We are in a good situation. We had about 300 people dying, which are not good, but you know, if you think about the world, it's a good situation. And we are starting now to open all the businesses. Schools are open, restaurants. I think only the culture things are still closed. Now, one of the things that I've been doing during all this situation, I'm a couple therapist, and it was very interesting starting to advise people through Zoom. The one thing a person told me that I didn't think about before, for Israelis, okay? Because we have now so many conferences on Zoom, you have to be more concentrated. You have to listen to the other person and not talk, just listen, see the other person. And people told me, wow, I'm starting to learn how to listen, to be calm with myself, to put my ego aside and to listen to the other person. This was something I never thought about. I mean, we all think we are, well, we hear the other person, we see him. I think we have to think about it now when, after the COVID. And so I've been treating people that think you have two people married for how many years, it doesn't matter. We work all day, we still want each other for maybe 3 or 4 hours a day maximum, and now you have to be at home with your spouse, your husband, and your kids. This is a whole new situation, whole new area. And it was very, very hard for couples now to see their other significant, I would say, with all his faults. You know, it's very easy when you go to work in the morning and you just say good night or just have dinner together and that's it. That was a very interesting thing that people started seeing when now in the COVID, being at home. And the other things is, I don't know how it's in your countries, but third of the people who died were people over 70 years old. And we, as everybody, we've been told not to see our parents, not to visit them, not to hug them. You know, for Israeli, not to hug somebody, it's very, very hard. So this is something I'm doing today. I'm going to all kinds of places. We have, you know, old residents, speaking to people over 70 who start feeling we are not important for this country. And this is a very hard mental position for them. You know, the people that work for the country, they pay the taxes, they are good people. But now we are saying, okay, you have, because we don't want you to be infected, you have to stay put, not move, and not see us, and we can't come and see you. This is a very mental, very hard problem today in Israel for the people over 70. We have to give them, I'm working on that a lot now, we have to give them a reason that they are important for us. This is very, very a hard mental problem for them. You know, some people said, okay, if you don't need us, we can just vanish. So this is one of the things that we are giving more time now. Of course, in Israel, we have 1 million people unemployed now. So this is starting to make a lot of noise. People are starting to forget how was it when they were on lockdown, you know, because you have to provide and you have to make a living and it's very hard. So, but I should say, the first thing that happened when all this started, all the Israelis came home. We discovered our country. So I think for a personal attitude, mentally, it gives me a safe place. I have a place to go back to. Somebody will take care of me. And all this, you know, it's a mental thing, really. Because you can have a lot of money and everything, but if you don't think anybody's taking care of you, you can have all the money in the world, really. But mentally, you won't be happy. So this is one of the things that we learn. We are learning all about the mental thing in Israel now, together with the unemployment, and it's we are, as I said, in a good place now, no lockdown anymore, and hopefully all people will see the good thing about this, starting to be more spiritual, not material. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Elisha. Pandemic is something which affects the world, America, Europe, Asia, Africa, every continent. It has affected the lives of people around the world. Now I invite Major General Sanjay Soi, retired, Director Strategic Affairs, India-Namibia Trade Forum.
Thank you, Mohit. In fact, for the information of everybody, I superannuated from Indian Army in October 18, and after serving for 36.5 years, and most of the time, about more than 7 times, I was in operational area. So what Noel had said, that he was happy. In fact, I never had any problem, physical or mental or spiritual. Maybe because of the training we got it. So I thought I'll just share a bit of my personal experience. and how we used to overcome this kind of COVID situation whenever we faced, and how what some lessons could be taken from that. I hope some lessons for corporate world is also as applicable as they were for army. Like I would say that out of so many operational tenures, at least 3 tenures I had in high altitude, where we would get cut off for about 4 to 5 months. We would survive on tin ration, dehydrated rations, lines would be down, evacuation will be only by helicopters, and anybody falling sick, that was the main cause of worry, because helicopters depend on the good weather. And the doctors would advise on radio set, and very small posts to go around, extreme weather conditions, and enemy threat. All these things were there. So what kept us going, I thought I'll just share the thing. One was training, of course, that I'll not dwell upon it much. But second thing was camaraderie, owning your own team, whether you are in corporate world or you are at home. I mean, if you own your team, you are worried about their good well-being. You are worried about each and every member of your family or your team or in the corporate world. Because these days, everybody is going through what you are going through, what I'm going through. So everybody is more or less in the same boat. So it is very important for the senior member of the team to keep them motivated, keep them charged. And if there's any problem, he finds somebody down and dull, you need to pep him up. I mean, that is what, as a senior officer, we used to do on the post. In spite of, we were also alone. We would talk to our men, and then own your responsibility. Whatever is your responsibility, the moment you own that responsibility, you know that this task has to be done, this mission has to be accomplished. Then all these external factors, like in our condition, it was extreme weather, cut off, and tin ration. All these things do not matter. Your soul gets free. Your heart is free from all these external factors. All these problems are all external problems, and then you can overcome and remain happy, remain positive, and follow a routine. What we followed was a routine, physical, mental, spiritual, all kinds of things. Maintain communication, remain busy in something constructive, remain constructive, remain busy in something productive. That I think most of the people sitting at home are doing it. And those who are not doing it, they are depressed. I mean, that is a simple and straight. Anybody who's involved in something, pursuing their hobby or contributing to the company, they are happy, cheerful, and positive. And next was basically sense of elitism, sense of pride. Whatever I am, my company is doing. Like we have evolved, we have come up something different. We have come up some different solutions. Those are the things basically which bring the sense of pride, sense of elitism. And post-COVID, there are some of the points I thought. Post-COVID, what may happen is, like, we used to splurge. I mean, you come down after altitude, you see on the port, the moment sailors come down or the soldiers come down, they splurge, they spend. So we do not know how the things, the individual emotions will come up. However, in this situation, there's a lot of uncertainties there. A lot of uncertainty. People are uncertain about job security, cash flow. They do not know what will happen, how the things are going to turn in near future. So that kind of thing which in corporate world was there, work hard and party hard. Friday evening or Saturday was a total party time. I mean, you work for 5 days and then Saturday you chill out and then again you recharge and get back to the work from Monday onward. So we need to have a counseled say recharging. Recharging is required for anybody. You need to recharge, whether it is a spiritual method or whatever, or you meet your friend. We'll miss out that hug. We miss out that touch, which again brings a lot of positivity. That is, we are going to miss out. We need to think of those, and we need to think something out of box. And I think those were some of the messages. I would say in the end that bad days do not remain always. New normal is going to be better. Recession does not last. So many recessions have come in the past. Ultimately, the human race is such, we overcome all this. And if we listen to our soul, leave the external factors on one side, I think we can remain positive, happy, and contribute to society. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Major General Soy. I thank WLC and Professor Dr. Ayla Aljufrie for such a wonderful initiative. Now I request if Ms. Ayla is here, Dr. Ayla, could you please give us with some of your guidance, some of your wisdom? Ms. Ayla. I think.
Yes, hello everyone. I want to say thank you for Dr. Asif Iqbal, India Trade Organization, that also the trustee for World Women Leading Change. We are a woman empowerment organization that derive in almost 20 countries with 3 million members communities. So pandemic, it's really attacked my business as I'm in real estate. I have closed 6 businesses in the first month. And when it comes to what I wanted to do next, so I decided to do this conference because normally we have a conference in global scale every April. And then until today, we have reached about 17,000 people. And this has been for the World Leadership Conference. It's been batch number 16. We have reached about 234 speakers. We plan to reach more and more people. So we spread the vaccine of heart, which is more important than any vaccine, that create an immunity to the mind, and then we can still move, you know. And we also have 6 center of technology, center of technology opportunity, center of health opportunity. We have center of arts, of kindness. We have center of education. We have center of food, and we also have center of mental wellness, which is the most important. So this is already now in 24 countries, and I call up anybody who has who wanted to join this center to help as much as people that we can through education, through sharing our knowledge. The Kindness Center have helped about 50 families in Africa, 20 to 30 families in Malaysia. So we want to spread the kindness. I think that's all, Mohit, and I'm very happy today. One of my great friends, High Excellency Ngurah, is speak today, and also my fellow friends and all my families in India. Sending you love and light from Jakarta, Indonesia.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Ayla Aljufrie. Now we are open up for Q&A, and if you would like to add something, most welcome. And as we have the first one to raise question, Mr. Murthy, you can turn off your mute mode and you can ask your question. Mr. Murthy.
Is it audible now?
Yes.
Am I audible? Then I have 2-3 questions. One is to His Excellency, the diplomatic, what is it? Jejawa. What is his name? Sujaya. And he was talking. I just want to know, post-COVID, how the diplomatic relations, because it's my perception and people are, which I gather from my informations, there is a lot of antagonism developing against China. And post-COVID, how China will be viewed by the rest of the nations, and what will be the diplomatic relations with China and the Committee of Nations. This is what will be the projection. That's what I would like to know. According to my perception is, because there will be definitely as I read today some article, I think a kind of Cold War is brewing, and one polar center could be China. I don't know. This is a highly expertized lecture I studied today only. So I would like to have some comments on this. And the second one is to Major General Sanjay Soiji. It's a brief thing. It's a general. See, as he said, the army training is very good, and then we have millions, if not lakhs, if not millions of retired army personnel. And in this post-COVID, can we take their experience in reorganizing the rural sectors? Because of this now, all these laborers that are settled, and they're all so settled laborers from different places are going to their villages. The best ultimate answer is to make them reliant in their places only if possible. Can there be an alternative? Can we think and suggest an alternative to the government of India? These are the two addresses I would like to get some kind of discussion and their considerable opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Murthy, for your question. I request His Excellency Noora Swajya to please open up the mic.
Yeah. Thank you. So, as I said in my presentation, to address this COVID pandemic, we have to have a global unity. We have to have international cooperation. But unfortunately, what we see now is a divisive world. So the US in one side, and China in other side.
Right.
So they are not, instead of they are collaborating, they are exchanging accusations. They are exchanging rhetorics. And this is not going to help the international community. But then, of course, on the other side, I think China is also becoming a little bit more coercive, in the middle of these pandemic situations. Everybody has to restrain their aggressiveness. And then going back to the international cooperation. So this is what the unfortunate situation we are facing. We hope that, through diplomacy, then they will be able to really find a common ground on how we will be able to move forward. So both sides has to exercise restraint and find a solution through negotiations rather than using this, social media, media to exchange criticism, to exchange, rhetorics. I think this is also perhaps the reason is because we are only meeting through virtual, tools. So in my view, there should be a real meeting in terms of, of course, with physical distancing. They have to meet in person. So then you can understand what is the situation, what is the environment of the two sides in that particular meeting rooms. But then, of course, this is not yet taking place now because everybody is, applying the restrictions. We hope that sooner rather than later, they will find, the opportunity to sit down because we cannot afford to have these two giants to fight. We have to have these two giants to collaborate. If they're fighting, of course, then the other side is going to pull the other countries into their, position, and this is not going to help in order to develop the international unity. So you are correct with your question that we are a little bit unfortunate with this, what we call as a geopolitical situation. It's not helping in order for us to address this global pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. I request Major General Soy, please comment on the question.
Thank you, Dr. Murthy. In fact, very pertinent question. The way our migrant laborers and migrant people have gone back to their, are in the process of going back to their own places, respective places, Bihar, Odisha, South and all. So one is making use of serving army as such. That I'll not recommend because of the situations on our border, both Pakistan and China, and some internal security issues. However, we have 2.6 million veterans who have tremendous experience of army, and who have, like, I feel I'm still not young, I am ready to give back to the society in whatever manner I can. So they can be a tremendous force multiplier and channelize this laborers into a constructive and productive one. Government is already spending around 61,500 crores for Manrega and other schemes. So that is where probably at least the implementation could be there. There's one more point I wanted to bring out here related to this is, if everybody goes back to their respective places, then who will run the industry, who will run the business, who will run the places? They need to be there where their livelihood, that's how the industries will come up. That is where a sense of confidence and the sense of the faith has to be brought into these people, which again can be done by these veterans, like what point I brought out, due to training, we were able to overcome this. I remained positive, I remained happy. That kind of thing can be brought out. Anything else? That is what my take is. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Murthy and Mohit.
Thank you, Major General Soy, for your answer. Now, Ms. Elisa has a very interesting question for all. Could you please ask?
Yeah. Since I said that we are already past the lockdown, we are facing the economic things. I would like to hear from like Indonesia or India. How are you dealing with economic problem now? Like I said, we have about 1 million people that they don't have jobs now. They used to work, but you know, everybody has problems, and a lot of them were fired. So what do you do with these people? Do you have any special programs for them? I would like to know how it is in the bigger countries, please. So whoever wants to answer, it's okay with me. I would like to know how it works with you. Thank you.
Anyone would like to answer that?
I would like to answer it. So,
Okay.
COVID actually, it is the first thing that we have to solve is leadership crisis. Yes, because at the moment everybody is under pressure. So this is where leadership play important role as community leaders, or even as a leader of a company. COVID-19 has actually forced entrepreneurship, you know. So people are, they have to survive from home. And this is actually very interesting. Pandemic can actually have bigger or huge opportunity for us, because then we are creating what we call gig economy. Gig economy is actually collaborating one of the best things in the world and pull it together. So World Leadership Conference, what we do now, is actually one of the tools that I wanted to hear, and I wanted to understand what happened in outside of Indonesia, my country, and how the other side of the world, or people trying to absorb or cope with this COVID. But it's also open a broader for our business, as you know, any business now, you actually have a global market. And I don't say COVID is good, but in any situation, in any given situation, we have to have we have to be grateful that life is still on us. We're still living. We still have, we still can breathe. And as long as we can breathe, we can live, we have good heart, then we can strive again, maybe even bigger. Because what happened with COVID-19 is actually creating huge opportunity in education sector. If you are expert, you can teach all the things that you are expert in, you know. And another things is health and technology. It's amazing, you know. And I hope that all you know, world leaders, I collect all the leaders that in my heart, I think very dear to me or very close to me, so we can have a very good discussion that we can together as an international collaboration, like High Excellency Ngurah explained, or Dr. Asif Iqbal trying to build from his Indian trade organization. It's happening because this is actually the time where we have to internationally collaborate. You cannot survive on one country alone. You cannot. And the other side, that we also have to strive for humanity. This is the task. The new world. We are going to the new world. And everybody should be ready. You like it or you don't like it. So I think, you know, I'm trying here. We make 6 centers. We're trying to educate people in different field that they are very strong with, and then the other person can teach. And we're trying to. We need more people to join hand with us. So this is the new world. We're trying to do it together, because you know, a woman like me in Indonesia cannot do a lot without a help from people from India, people from China, people from Vietnam. It will not happen alone, but of course we have to keep moving. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Alia. You have presented in a very constructive manner. Is there anyone else who want to answer the question?
Yeah, can I just 3 points? First, of course, is this pandemic has already affected the economy very badly. Indonesia was growing about 5% annually before, but now it has already been in the first quarter of this year. It has already been revised to 2.97%. Unemployment increased, dramatically. So what we have achieved in terms of poverty eradication in the past 10 years, in the past 15 years, now we are going back again to the number of poverty because of the unemployment. So unemployment, we go back again to the figure like what we had 10 years ago. So of course, this has already been affecting the economy very badly. So that was the reason why I think every leaders, they don't need to choose. You know, they are not choosing between public health or economy. They have to do both. They have to address both. You know, otherwise you will not going to have overcome the situation if you are only concentrating into one. And so you should not also conflict between the two. The two can go hand in hand at the same time. Number two, I would like to also, point number two I would like to make here is every government, including Indonesia, the government has already been allocating $60 billion in order to help to help in terms of addressing the basic needs of the people. So, and also the budget has already been set aside in order to how to help the recovery process. So many countries has already been allocating such a huge amount of money. And this is the second thing that I would like to mention. The third thing I would like to make, you know, COVID also, give us a lessons that the international community can no longer depending only one big supply chain. When we have this situation, we cannot only depending on one manufacturer of the world. Now people are talking about diversification. So diversification meaning that either they bring back their industries to their shore, or they bring the industries to different countries. And I think this is what Indonesia is also trying to play a role here, because in the region, in ASEAN, we have what we call as an economic community. We have a single market, we have a single competitive production base. we have 600 million market here. That is a huge market. So we want to participate in this diversification process or relocation of industries, mainly from China. So then at the end of the day, then the international community will not only depending on the one source. So we can also be an alternative in this huge global supply chains that is going to be, I think there will be a reform on that. There will be an adjustment on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Any more answers for the same question? Is there anyone who would like to suggest something, add something, or ask any other question? Yes, please, sir. Dr. Asif, please. Your mic is on mute.
Yes, now coming to Alisa's point, I think the kind of self-resilience that Israelis have, shown in the past, and I myself have been a guest and a great friend of Israel. We have seen how they have faced these kind of situations, and we have learned a lot from that. And with this COVID situation, especially in India, there is a lot of self-reliance that we have learned. And as our Honorable Prime Minister also had said, Atmanirbhar. So, which means, self-reliance. And we saw this self-reliance in our own households. We did not have domestic help. We did not have drivers. They all took holidays. And we ended up doing things ourselves. And now we have started to enjoy these tasks, adding, more energy to our self-reliance. And I do hope that this is going to now remain. And these civil societies, as Dr. Ayla Aljufrie, who rightly said, as a civil society, we have got together here today, we are almost around 30 people from different parts of the world. And Excellency Guraya Swaja is here, and from Indonesia, from Israel, from Malaysia. So we are all from different parts of the world. We have been able to gather, exchange our rich experience, exchange our ideas and opinions. And this is a very big contribution of the COVID-19. And I think these meetings are going to now keep happening. There is going to be much more technology absorbed by the human beings as a part of the regular social behavior. And there is a lot of enrichment, there is a lot of talent available, and it is available at a fraction of a cost. Otherwise, imagine the time spent and the resources spent in traveling and meeting people. If I have to meet Alisa, I have to travel all the way to Israel. But today I can, see her online and invite her and talk to her and discuss with her and share her rich experience and ideas with everybody else. So the idea should be to form this kind of a strong network that can actually be like a civil society and an international think tank. So maybe the Zoom and these groups coming out on Zoom could be the new United Nations in the future, who will, frame policies. They'll help draft policies with the governments and create solutions for a lot of civic societies. And once again, yes, I would also like to add my concluding remarks to Dr. Ayla and her organization for organizing this particular meet. And they have been doing so many meetings in the last few weeks. Ayla, this could be like the 31st or the 32nd meeting that. But I would like to give all the credit, and once again, I would like to valuable time of His Excellency Guraya, and personally thank Alisa for coming in, and hope to Alisa you'll come more and share your valuable inputs from the Israeli side, and from the country's perspective. We'll love to have you all the time with us. And Murthy Ganti ji and Sanjay Swai Saab is also there, and we are all going to be adding a lot of value. And Dr. Ayla, thank you very much. And once again, we are looking forward to many more of your inputs and the international think tank that will be formed using our World Conference. Once again, I thank you all for being.
This was indeed an interesting session.
Yeah,
I'm glad for your all participation and giving your valuable time. Now I hereby declare the session concluded. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you and namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anisa. Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Noel.
you. Right? I have to write something.
Thank you, Ms. Anisa. Thank you, Ms. Anisa Sophia. Captain Tyagi, thank you so much for joining. Mr. Satish, thank you.
Thank you for
Mr. Abby.
organizing. Thank you so much for the all the resource person. It's very insightful and very useful information. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Mr. Anjan, thank you. Mr. Murali, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Captain S.B. Tyagi. Thank you, Mr. Noel, for joining us. Thank you, Mr. Murthy. Can we end the meeting now?